I'm Dan Raviv, CBS News in Washington. We're pleased to be joined by the former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, who is, of course, one of the leaders now in the race for the Republican nomination. Certainly in Iowa, it looked like a four-way tie. And therefore, Mr. Gingrich, you are getting a lot more questions, a lot more attention. Is it comfortable or uncomfortable?
No, it's great. I would rather be, tied to be the front runner and have a lot more questions than to be totally unknown and have nobody paying attention. So I'm honored and delighted to have a chance to answer questions and to be part of the debate.
Well, you're not being ignored, that's for sure. And I want to talk to you about America in the world, but I feel I do have to turn to the day's news. So what are you saying about this story? Bloomberg, the news service, did it first, that over the years after you were Speaker of the House, you earned more than $1.6 million by helping or consulting with Freddie Mac. How are you explaining that? That seems somewhat embarrassing because Republicans don't like Freddie Mac.
Well, we established a consulting firm called Gingrich Group. The Gingrich Group provided strategic advice to many clients of many fairly famous companies. And the fact is that I did no lobbying of any kind, and I worked with a wide range of companies. Ultimately, we developed the Center for Health Transformation, which has been widely recognized as a major source of new ideas and new approaches in healthcare. And that all grew out of the consulting practice that we developed starting in 1999.
So that was your post-government business. Got it. Well, Freddie Mac was one of your clients.
Right, and that's that straightforward. We had many clients, many of them fairly substantial and well-known corporations, and we provided strategic advice.
Well, Freddie Mac was, of course, in the business of backing housing loans, and at least at some point it became clear that you're among the Republicans who think that Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae did too much and were a waste of money. Did you tell Freddie Mac that?
Towards the end, I told him that what was beginning to happen was clearly going to be a bubble, that you couldn't possibly make the kind of loans that people were making without the whole thing just crashing. And that's because, as a historian, it was obvious. I mean, when you start making loans to people who have no credit at all, have no history of repaying, and the last couple of years just became absolutely unsustainable. And there's several very good books about how Jim Johnson and others. Remember, most of the guys who ended up doing this were Democrats, and the amounts of money they were making was extraordinary. And I mean, from their perspective, this was a very small consulting contract from their perspective.
Well, let's clarify. Most of them, as you say, were Democrats, so they hired you as a very well plugged-in Republican. Apparently, Freddie Mac wanted you to bridge a gap that they had with Republicans on Capitol Hill. So is that lobbying? What did you do?
I didn't do it. That explicitly did not do it. What I did is I advised them and said, look, these are the kind of questions that are being asked, and these are the kind of things you need to be able to answer. And I don't condemn government-sponsored enterprises as a model. We've used them for 225 years, and they've often been very effective ways of getting things done, better than having the government itself do. But they require prudent management, and they require a realization that the marketplace works and that you have to follow market rules.
Just to be clear, you say you gave advice to Freddie Mac, and you did not approach Republican members of the House on their behalf?
No. I have done no lobbying in the 12 years I've been out of office. Very, very deliberately and very explicitly. We tell people that in advance. We say, we'll give you strategic advice. We'll share with you how we would think about solving a problem, but we're not going to go do it.
Now, you did make some money because you were former Speaker and well connected. That's okay?
Well, I made some money in part because I've had a pretty long experience of how to get things done, and I have a pretty good bit of strategic knowledge about how to organize and how to analyze things. And I think people did want to know, in general, and that came from a number of companies. It's a business that a lot of different people engage in, and there are a lot of companies you can hire either to be consulting, to do planning, to do strategic analysis. All those are areas where I have a pretty good bit of expertise.
Okay, is there a chance that this story, and it probably getting on the news a lot for at least 24 hours, will hurt you among Iowa Republican voters?
I think not, by the time people get done looking at it and understand that I did no lobbying, and that I did not defend any kind of bad business practices, and I wouldn't.
But it might remind people that you're a, Washington insider.
Well, there's no question when you serve 20 years in the House and you're Speaker of the House for 4 years, you know a fair amount about Washington. But my argument is we just tried an amateur for the last 3 years and it didn't work very well.
So the country would be better off with you, not an outsider.
The country would be better off with somebody who is determined to change Washington and who knows how to do it. I'm the only candidate running on the Republican side who has actually had real responsibility in Washington and has actually, at the scale we're talking about, done things like reform welfare, reform Medicare, passed the first tax cut in 16 years, balanced the federal budget for 4 years, pay off $405 billion in federal debt. You know, these are real achievements. I think the country is ready for somebody who stands for dramatic change, but who actually knows how to do it.
I'm reaching you at O'Hare Airport between flights. You've left Iowa, a big round of campaigning. Where are you going next?
We go next to Florida for a day in Jacksonville tomorrow and do a Tea Party meeting and a fundraiser. Then we go the next day to Harvard, where we are showing one of our movies and I'm giving a speech. And then we go on Saturday back to Iowa and for Saturday and Sunday morning, and then Monday we go to New Hampshire, so I'm bouncing around.
And busy and talking a lot. Now, I know you'll forgive me if I just try to button up that discussion of Freddie Mac, just very briefly, if I may. First of all, is it true that your campaign is going to issue a fact sheet, something that tells us as much as can be told about your work?
Well, I assume they are. They're working on it while I'm traveling, so...
But you want to be as open as possible about your years?
Of course. Look, I think that what we've achieved in running several small businesses was very desirable and very positive and proves that I know how to operate in the free market. And the fact that we were very productive and were able to go out and work very hard, I think it's good. I think that's what America's all about.
And was the Atlanta Journal and Constitution correct? In 08, there was an article that said that you, sir, talked and wrote about what you saw as the benefits of the Freddie Mac business model. Were you boosting it in 08?
Well, I certainly was. I was saying that the government-sponsored enterprises can have a positive role to play.
And as you say, not criticizing the existence of GSEs.
Right. And I think you have to look at American history. There have been times they've been very useful. What you can't do is have them ignore the realities of the market and engage in trying to find a way to, do things you can't do. You cannot loan, you can't sell houses to people who have no credit and have no income. It's not possible.
Mr. Gingrich, I know you say you gave that advice to Freddie Mac, and I assume we'll learn more. Maybe there's not that much more to learn.
It may not be, but I suspect it will disappear as one of the stories that come and go in campaigns, and we'll move on to other topics.
Newt Gingrich, thank you for joining us on CBS Radio News.
Thank you.
I'm Dan Raviv, CBS News.